Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Women's select criteria expands as they get older. And this is something I touched on in a car video the other week. Because, I'm known for talking about the female selection criteria, the select and non-select. And let me be very clear, the woman's select criteria. Now, men have something totally different. Men, and just real quick, it's like we want that icon, that perfect 10 and everything, and then how close a woman can come to it, that's ours. But a woman's, their criteria is they, select or non-select. Now, a lot of people will throw out that whole 80-20 thing. And yeah, you could say that maybe online or when they're younger. But the thing with women, as they get older, their criteria changes. And it changes according to their needs and what they have going on. So, okay, when a woman is a teen, she hits puberty. She get those hormones, that master feminine comes online. She want to have that baby. In fact, they can be, they just want the top male. Okay, when they're young. I say from, nowadays you got some young ladies hitting puberty at 11. All right, for preteen to roughly around the age of 24. And this isn't scientific, just in general what I've seen, what I've observed. And remember, this is just a general thing. Oh yeah, but when they're young, especially when they're young, they picky. They picky. 80-20, like some people will say 95-5, all that. Yeah, when they're young, yeah, they're going to be real picky. Because they driven primarily by a man's sex appeal, primarily. Whatever guy looks good to them and gets their vagina jumping when they're young. And really, if you look at it from a biological perspective, that's how it's supposed to be. In many indigenous cultures, and indeed, even in Western culture, young women have her babies around when they're in their teens. And really, just knowing some teen moms, they pop them out like nothing. It's nothing because they actually built to do so at a young age. And that's when they're horniest, but also pickiest. And if they have their druthers about who imprints them, the first 3 men who imprint them, it's going to be the neighborhood champion. It's going to be the alpha male. And I don't usually use that term, but the top boys. So, in high school, who they want? They want the jocks. They want the more popular boys. They want the boys who are like the best looking. So, and that's just their nature. Now, that nature will pretty much in general, stay in their lives, but it will expand where it might be very restricted when they're young to only, like say out of 100 boys, only 3 are select to them. They only want them when they're 17. And it is what it is. It is what it is. But as they get older, it gradually expands. And for one simple reason, their needs expand. Like when they're young, they can just go party, do all this stuff, hit the club, have fun. But then as they get older, when they hit about the age of 27, and this is still general, because it's going to be different for every woman, all of a sudden, the biological clock starts ticking. Because women only have a finite amount of eggs. Like a man could like impregnate a woman in his 80s. And seriously, he can impregnate, as long as his sperm works, he can do so. Only way if it just doesn't work. Women, they're going to run out of eggs at some point. They only have a limited amount. So, all of a sudden, that biological clock starts ticking. They're getting older. Like I said, in many indigenous cultures, and even in Western culture, the women, they start having babies in their teens. But as they get older, it gets harder and harder. And on a subliminal level, they know, wait a minute, I got to settle. All of a sudden, where the selection might have been 3 out of 100 at 17. At 27, it might expand to up to 30. It's still not the majority, but because all of a sudden the woman's looking at it a bit more, and they're just having a baby. So the man needs to reach a certain threshold that she even finds him attractive enough. She wants his genetic features enough. But then who's going to take care of the baby? All of a sudden that's when she started looking at resources. You know, she get that family drive. Even with a lot of single mothers and everything, they're going to still have that drive. They looking at it. They looking at the man's genes. How much will he invest in the child? Things of that nature. And yeah, you got some women that get with some guy, they just want the seed and stuff. But like I said, I'm talking in general, very general terms. Each woman's still individual. But all of a sudden, she's looking at a bit more. She's expanding more. And then here's the thing. She might not find that drop dead gorgeous guy with that like killer sex appeal as she gets old. She realized from experience where she's at, because then it depends on her environment. Her environment might not yield that type, so she got to expand. Because the only bottom line with the women is they want a man. That's why, in fact, somebody, a mentor that I'm a Facebook friend with, was it him? Yeah, I think it was him. It was him or somebody. I think it was him. He said, yeah, women in their 80s be getting down sexually. So they still have that basic need for sex, for companionship. But then they have to be realistic. So they'll gradually expand it. They will gradually expand it. So it will change. It'll be in flux. And that's a general thing. Because it is, and really, one of the things to be clear about, it depends on her needs. I talked about that in Nice Guys and Players. I said, when I talked about, understanding a woman, that's a very important chapter. I said, ultimately, a woman chooses a man according to her needs. Her needs simply expand. You know, you're like, okay, like when they're young, she might get with a guy who don't got shit going on, but he's sexy to her. She like his smile or something like that, right? But then she gets older, and maybe she even have kids, right? Like say she already have the children. All right, the child's father ain't around. All of a sudden, just like, oh wait, I gotta take care of these kids. I need somebody to help with that. So all of a sudden, that small group keeps expanding because you gotta include more factors. You know, you got to include more factors. And then, they working, like say they professional type of women. They professional type of women. And they in some type of environment where it's actually a good thing if they have a mate. Or it could be like in their church or something like that. All of a sudden, they got to start looking at some guys they might not have looked at when they were 17. And that's just the thing. It's in flux. It changes. And even in general, just in general, different women going to have different selection criteria anyway. For one woman, it's 95-5. Another is 80-20. Another woman is 40-60. It's 40-60. In fact, I'm gonna address that issue. Because in the next video, because here's the thing, there's a lot of guys talking about, oh, these women been ran through, but they only get with a small portion of men in general. Like that portion really at best might go, for the most women, might go up to 40%, but that's as they get older. So how's a young woman getting ran through and she's only attracted to a few men? I'm gonna talk about that in the next episode because I deal with truth and thinking about stuff. All right. So anyway, that's it for this episode, and I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.